Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Tuesday, or at least I hope it's a happy Tuesday for you. And if it didn't start out that way, may it end that way. I like to start every event by, of course, saying thank you for coming. Welcome. I'm Kelly Fornell, CEO of Tech Manitoba, and I'm really excited to welcome you for our latest and wonderful Tech Mashup. If you can, with the little thumbs up or the clapping emojis on the bottom right of your screen, can you give me an indication that you're able to hear me and everything's working on your end before we proceed officially? All right, thank you. I'm seeing lots and lots of thumbs up, which is fantastic. So today is all about leveraging government grants and tax incentives. It is a really great topic. We have a fantastic speaker, and I'm really excited to bring her onto the stage very, very shortly. But before that, I respectfully acknowledge that we are meeting virtually out of offices that are, probably in most instances, on the ancestral lands on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional gathering place of the Anishinaabe, Cray, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene, and on the traditional homeland of the Red River Métis Nation. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories, and we dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership with Indigenous communities, organizations, and people in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. Our mission is serving our members and assist in growing Manitoba's tech community. We are grateful to the member organizations that support this community through participation, mentorship, and financial support. So a special thank you to our Tech Mashup sponsor, DXC Technology. See, I'm getting all verklempt, as my grandma would say, all emotional. Today, we are joined by Jackie Hunter. She's a senior manager at Deloitte. As a senior manager and professional engineer within Deloitte's Global Investment and Innovation Incentives practice, Jackie provides advice and assistance to companies in a wide range of industries, including consulting engineering, electrical engineering, manufacturing, mining, oil and gas, aerospace, ag and technology, telecommunications, and software. Jackie spent the first 17 years of her career in the structural engineering, consulting, and manufacturing industry. She worked as a designer, project manager in infrastructure projects, dam rehabilitation, and buildings. Since joining Deloitte, she's assisted companies in accessing the wide array of government funding opportunities, most notably the Scientific Research and Experimental Development, or SR&ED tax credit. Jackie has provided services to companies in various provinces across Canada. She's a great speaker, and I am so thrilled to have her on stage with me here today. So with that, over to Jackie.
Well, thank you, Kelly. That was a very warm introduction. I really appreciate that. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I would love to see the thumbs up as well. I love that. Thank you. I can see lots of thumbs up. We're going to get started because I have so much to tell you guys. So I'm hoping that I'm going to have enough time. But if I don't, I will be able to share some of that info later on. So if you cannot listen to all of it, or if you can't be here for the whole time, just contact me later and I can definitely help you out. I'm going to start sharing my screen. I'm going to need another thumbs up once I do so, and let me know when you can see the screen. So there we go. Can you guys see my screen? Thumbs up if you can. I don't see any thumbs up. That means you guys can't see it yet. So hopefully, Shailene, can you let me know? Oh, I see thumbs up. Okay, that's perfect. That means you guys can see it. There's also a poll that we have put it on for you guys. What did you guys want to learn the most today? So if you can go over there to the poll and take a look and answer the poll, that would be amazing. Today, as we mentioned, it's going to be leveraging government's grants and tax incentives and how much you guys can access, how much you should be accessing, and what you can do to leverage those government grants and tax incentives. I'm going to give a little bit of a funding overview, but before I want to just close up that poll and see what we got. Do you guys want to hear more about grants, incentives, tax credits? Keep going and let me know there. Shailene, whenever that's closed up, can you let me know, I guess, and I can see what the results are. I'm very excited to see what you guys want to hear the most. At any given time, we have about 3,000 different programs that are available through the government that you can access. And I would love to talk about some of them. Obviously, I cannot talk about all of them today. I'm always going to be available if you need to talk to me and let me know what you're looking for. Contact me. I see that lots of people are saying all of the above, and I've got some people wanting to talk about grants the most. So I will be giving an overview of all of them. Apparently, my voice is also failing, Kelly. So there we go. There's about $50 billion in funding that have been earmarked in government incentives, and it's allocated obviously to Canadian companies. There's lots of things. I'm going to talk a little bit about the triggering of grants and incentives and what are the things that you should be looking for triggers, and see if you can find any grants. But some of them are going to be job creation, exporting, innovation, market competitiveness, and business growth. The three different types of financial benefits that you can get, and the more typical ones are tax credits or rebates. So those are amazing. You can apply for them usually at your income tax time, after your year end has finished, and all the work that you've done in the past fiscal year, you're able to get tax credits. If you are paying tax, if you're not paying tax on that year, you can also get refunds in some of them, where you're going to be able to get a check in the mail with the amount of funding that you are qualifying for. The next one is the defined grants and accelerated tax deductions. So those ones are prescribed investments, and those are the ones that I'm going to talk the most about it. But just so you guys know, there's also the negotiated grants or incentives, which could be a function of employment creation or capital investment. So this is the poll that we've already talked about. I should have probably put that at the beginning of it, but I think it was great because you guys had lots of time to answer it. So this is amazing. As I mentioned, the triggering incentives that you can usually find for grants and incentives is research and development. Right now, there's a lot in ESG, environmental, social, and governance. Also, capital investments. So if you are expanding, or if you're buying new equipment or a new property, there's lots of funding out there as well. And employment creation, conversion, or training. So if you have a big program to train a bunch of your employees for a certain new task, or if you're hiring a bunch of new people, or if you're hiring students, co-op students, there's grants for that as well. So there's lots in that area. The ones that I like the most is obviously the research and development. As you guys know, I am an engineer and I've worked on the industry for quite a few years. So I'm going to talk about SR&ED first. So SR&ED is the Scientific Research and Experimental Development Tax Credit. Again, it's a tax credit, so you would be applying for that at the end of your fiscal year. The CRA, so the Canada Revenue Agency, is who administers the program, and that is why it goes through your income tax. There's over $4 billion in tax assistance to over 18,000 taxpayers every year. So it is the largest single source of federal government support for industrial research and development. So what you get at the end of the day is an investment tax credits, what we call ITCs, and you can get, again, cash refund or a tax credit into your income tax. It really depends on what type of company you have, if you're a CCPC or not, and it also depends on what province you are. So the amount that you can get it in cash at the end of the day is going to vary based on those parameters. The work has to be done in Canada. Again, the work has to be done in Canada. There is two different streams, the federal and the provincial credits. And the deadline to file is usually 18 months after the tax year ends. So when you're doing your income tax for a certain fiscal year, that's when you would apply. But you do have up to the next year to claim anything from the year that just passed. So as an example, on June 30th, a lot of my clients that are going to be finalizing their tax fiscal year in December 31st of 2022, they can apply for their SR&ED for 2022 fiscal year, as well as 2023 fiscal year if they haven't yet, as an amendment. So between the federal, you can get 35% of refundable ITCs, meaning you can get a check at the end of the day if you're not taxable. If you're not a CCPC, you're usually going to get 15% ITC, and that could be refundable or not refundable, depending on what type of company you are. And then we also have the provincial. So in Manitoba, you can get an extra 15%, which half of it is refundable. And Saskatchewan is 10. Alberta is between 8 and 20, and every single province is going to have a different one. Do I have anybody from Saskatchewan here? If I do, can you guys give me a thumbs up there? Anybody? I don't see any thumbs up. I wonder if Alberta, do we have any Albertans over here today? No. Okay, so let me see the thumbs up for Manitoba. I'm hoping there's a lot of you guys out there. Thumbs up, Manitoba? I don't see any thumbs up. Do I have a delay? No thumbs up. Okay, well, I'm sure you guys are there. You're just sleeping. Wake up, guys. Come on. Thumbs up. Anyways, so for SR&ED, what it actually means, a definition under the Tax Act, is scientific investigation or search carried out in a field of science or technology by means of experiment or analysis. And that could be in three different categories. So the three categories are basic research, applied research, and experimental development. Obviously, basic research, you're doing research, you don't really have anywhere that you would have an applied specific application that you have. So you're doing basic research, and the work is being done in Canada, and you can apply for SR&ED depending on what category you can fit in yourself. So basic research. Applied research is you're doing research, but you actually have an application in mind and you know where you're going to be applying that research. And the last one is experimental development, where you're trying different things, testing different hypotheses, and maybe testing chemicals, testing a new prototype. But the main idea is that you have three of the requirements, which is the technological uncertainties, systematic investigation, and technological advancement, meaning you have to have a gap in the industry, something that is not out there, it's not publicly available, that you're trying to solve. And it could be a process, it could be products, it could be an app, it could be many different things. As long as there is that scientific investigation component where you're coming up with the hypotheses, you're testing it, and if it doesn't work out, then you're going to go and change your hypothesis and do it all again. At the end of the day, you need to be able to show to CRA that there is a technological advancement. Either you learned a lot from it, so you learned a relationship about something, you learned a chemical works with something else, or whatever it is, the learnings, that could be a technological advancement, or you came up with a brand new project or a brand new product or a brand new process, and that would be your technological advancement. So those three are the requirement for SR&ED. I love this little cartoon. I was just rubbing sticks together for fun, and I didn't realize I was doing basic research. Well, that is what every single engineer says at all times that I talk to our clients. Basically, for us, we know that we are engineers and we're just solving problems and coming up with new technology, new products, new processes. And we don't realize that a lot of this is actually eligible for SR&ED, because that item of uncertainty sometimes is a little bit tricky to figure it out and see if there is actually a gap in the industry. And that is what some people like myself at Deloitte can help you figuring it out, if you do have eligibility. And some of the work that you could claim, it would be engineering, design, operations research, mathematical analysis, computer programming, data collection, and then also testing and psychological research. The types of costs that you can claim on your SR&ED are labor, materials, overhead, contracts, and third-party payments. Just as a quick note, though, third-party payments and contracts are usually going to have a little bit of a grind, so you can only claim about 80% of those. And for labor, you can actually have a bump into the amount that you can claim for labor, depending on which way you're calculating your ITCs. And then materials is usually either materials consumed or materials transformed. So if you have a new prototype that you're testing technology in, all the costs to build that prototype are eligible under the SR&ED claim, as well as materials consumed. So if you're doing, let's say, an experiment with CO2, or you're using certain gases or certain chemicals, reagents, and you're doing the testing throughout, you can actually claim also the cost for those materials. So the next slide is a poll. There's a poll number 2. Which of these expenses are not eligible under the SR&ED policy? So take a look at the ones we have. So I talked a little bit about some of them. So the things that can you claim: Canadian technical employee hours for SR&ED eligible activities done in the US, US contractors' invoices for SR&ED eligible activities in the US, Canadian contractors that did work in Canada, or cost of materials to build a prototype that is intended to be sold. Which one is wrong? Which one can you not claim under SR&ED? Do you guys know? Can you guys go see the poll? And it's just on the right corner there, under chat participants, Q&A, CC, and polls. Okay, so I can see that most of you guys, let's see, most of you guys are going towards the correct answer. I'll wait a little bit more. Okay, looks like most of you got the right answer. US contractors' invoices for SR&ED eligible activities in the US are not eligible. They're not Canadian, and they're doing the work not in Canada. Some of you guys actually answered Canadians, technical employees, hours for SR&ED eligible activities done in the US. If you are a Canadian employee and you're doing work in the US, you are able to claim it, but only up to a certain amount. So there is a limitation on there, but as long as you're a Canadian employee and doing some of the testing maybe in the US, as long as there is a, you're following some of the limitations, and you're okay. So yes, it was a trick question, but thank you. I hope that you guys got that one pretty good. The next one that I'm going to talk about is IRAP. You guys can put all the questions that you have for SR&ED onto the Q&A. We'll try to answer all the questions that we can at the end of the presentation. The next one that I want to talk about is IRAP. So IRAP is very similar to SR&ED. So a lot of the projects that you can claim under IRAP, you can claim under SR&ED, and vice versa. It is a research and development grant as well. So the difference is that IRAP is a grant. So basically, you're getting the money before you do the project. So yes, money in hand before you need to spend it. That's what most people want. So the idea behind it is that you can actually even stack it with SR&ED tax credits. So you can get some funding out of the IRAP, and whatever is left over, as long as it's eligible for SR&ED. So for example, the categories that I mentioned before, labor and etc., then you're able to stack them and actually get some of that funded through the tax credits, the SR&ED tax credits as well. It's usually for projects that support development and commercialization of innovative, technology-driven, new or improved products, services, or processes. So it usually runs on the government fiscal year. It is actually administered by the National Research Council of Canada, so the NRC, not the CRA. They do have two different streams. One is going to give you up to $50,000, and the other one up to $10 million. The maximum amount of funding that they are able to give you is 80% of the project-related technical assistance, so direct labor, and then 50% of subcontractor costs. Now, ideally, you do have to have a little bit more time, because you have to first get with a rep. So they're going to set you up with a rep. You're going to have conversations with the rep and see what your project is. You're going to analyze and see how much budget they have left, and they're going to go through your project with you. And then you are going to have to see how much you can actually apply for. And there is some reporting that needs to be done throughout your project timeline. Other than the SR&ED, you just do all the reporting at the end of your fiscal year. So it does have a little bit more of a difference. So the next poll is, what is the biggest difference between IRAP and SR&ED? Let's see if you guys are paying attention. Let me see some of the I don't even know what that emoji is. Is the emojis of thinking. It's got the little eyeglass thing, and you're thinking about. Can I see some emojis? Give me some heat over here, guys. I know it's got a very nice sun outside, but I can't get the heat from you guys. It's so tough when it's virtual. So the poll is, what is the biggest difference between IRAP and SR&ED? IRAP, you get the money up front. SR&ED, you get it at income tax time. Or IRAP is a tax credit, and SR&ED is a grant. SR&ED can only be claimed by CCPC or all of the above. Okay, it looks like most of you guys got the correct answer. The correct answer is IREP, you get the money up front, and SR&ED, you get it at income tax time. So that is a major difference. Obviously, there's a lot more differences. I just thought it would be nice to get you guys going on polls. Okay, we'll go to the next one. ESG incentives in Canada. Well, there is a lot of heat on that right now. There is about $26.1 billion of funding available just to help Canada decarbonize. So again, decarbonization, if you don't know what it is, it's the process of reducing carbon intensity, lowering the amount of greenhouse gas emissions produced by the burning of fossil fuels. Well, Canada ESG funding programs are actually trying to go towards the 2030 emission reduction plan targets, and hopefully we can get to net zero by 2050. Do you guys know what net zero is? Can I see some thumbs up? Anybody? You guys know what net zero is? Thumbs up if you do. Maybe put the little other emoji if you don't know what it is. Should I just not talk about it? Oh, I see one thumbs up. Ooh, somebody doesn't know. Okay, so net zero means either emitting no greenhouse gas emissions, or you can offset all of the emissions through actions such as tree planting, employing technologies that can capture the carbon before it is released into the air, or any other action. So ideally is if you are emitting, you're able to balance it out with clean technology and technologies that can actually reverse the impact, I guess. So that is what net zero is, and hopefully you can get to in 2050. Whoops. There we go. So I'm going to talk about one of the bigger ones for ESG initiatives, and one of them is the SDTC, which is the Sustainable Development Technology Canada, obviously. It is a federal grant funding. Again, you get the money up front, and it is in relation to research and development as well. I told you guys I love research and development, so I'm talking about them the most. The average funding you can get is $3 million, and it's throughout a project that is about 5 years or less. The maximum funding that you can get is 40%, and then 50% of those costs can actually be in Canada, and 50% could be outside of Canada. There's a lot of things that you can claim, like salaries and benefits, professional and administrative fees to get some intellectual property rights. You can get field testing services, feasibility studies, license fees, and permits. There is lots that you can get under that. So you could also stack it with SR&ED, as we talked about it on the IRAP. So the idea is that if you are able to get some of the funding that SR&ED does not give you for tax credits, so for example, administrative fees or licensing fees and things like that, those are not eligible for SR&ED anyway. So if you can get a lot of those fundings covered with SDTC, that would be a big bonus, and you can claim the rest of it on SR&ED. Basically, for SDTC, they're supporting Canadian companies with advancing innovative technologies that are pre-commercial. So that's a big, important part of SDTC. And they have to demonstrate significant and quantifiable environmental and economic benefits in one or more of the following areas: climate change, regeneration through circular economy, and the well-being of humans in the communities that they live and the natural environments that they interact with. This is great for Earth Month, by the way, which is coming up in April. If you guys don't know it, the Downtown Biz is actually putting a downtown cleanup, which we at Deloitte are going to be participating. So let me see some thumbs up if you guys are looking forward to Earth Month, and if you have any events planned for April. Can I get some thumbs up? You guys are doing any type of cleanup, or donating clothes, or doing a clothing swap with your friends? Any thumbs up? Nobody's doing anything for Earth Month? Where are my green thumbs over here? No, nobody's doing it. Okay, you guys need a little bit more heat there. Well, if you're not doing anything, let me know and I can find you guys some options of what to do for Earth Month. So for SDTC, there's three different streams. The first one is SEED. SEED is actually a one-time grant that is up to 100K. It actually is a pretty quick one. You get approval and your money in about 8 weeks, which is pretty quickly. So if you are ever wanting to hear more about SDTC, I can see Camilla is in here. Hi, Camilla. Nice to hear from you. If you guys want to reach out to Camilla, she is the lady to talk to about SDTC. She is the one who gives me all the info. So you guys are definitely welcome to reach out to her as well. I think she's putting her contact in there. We have the other two streams, which is Startup and Scale Up. For the SEED, one more thing about the SEED is that you do have to be nominated by an accelerator. So for example, North Forge, if you guys know about North Forge, do you guys know who North Forge is? Give me some clapping for North Forge. They do an amazing job. Thank you. Yes. So if you're nominated by North Forge, you may be able to apply for the SEED funding. And then Scale Up and Startup are the other two streams. They do take a little bit more time, about 6 months. So it's good to start right away when you're in your planning phases. So just kind of get into that there and talk to Camilla, talk to myself, go on the website and figure it out, everything that you need to know about those three different streams. Now I do have a poll on the screen again, and it is, have you ever applied for either one of the incentives described? Have you applied for SR&ED? Have you applied for IRAP? Have you applied for both of them? No, you haven't applied to anyone. Oh, I had changed the poll, but I did not send it over to our admin people. But anyways, if you guys can answer me, that would be amazing. Let's see. I've got mixed answers, but a lot of people have not applied for any of them. Well, if you need assistance applying for them, let me know, and I'm here. I'm going to talk a little bit about some other ESG funding programs out there right now. We have the Emission Reduction Fund, ERF. Only the offshore program is still available, and there is about $42 million in funding over there. We also have the Decarbonization Incentive Program, which is up to about 10 million plus per applicant. And then the last one is the Canada Growth Fund, which has about $15 billion available for funding as well. So those are all related to the 2030 emission reduction plan. Let's see what else we've got here. Strategic Innovation Fund. So that is a major funding program. It is between 10 million to $500 million. So anything that is accelerating the pace of decarbonization. And you can get up to 50%, as I mentioned. It is capital expenses, retrofits, labor, materials, and contracts that are directly related to the projects. There is a portion that is repayable and a portion that is non-repayable. It really depends on the application. The next one that I wanted to just kind of bring it up for you guys is the Low Carbon Economy Fund. 25 to 75% that you can get for your project, and it is between $1 million to $25 million. There is a lot to learn within that low carbon economy fund. There is a low carbon economy challenge. There's a bunch of other streams that you can go into, but basically it's leveraging the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and to generate clean growth in the support of Canada's clean growth and climate action plans. And then I know, whoops, sorry, I kind of went over. There we go. Too far. There we go. So if you guys are interested in those ones as well, let me know. I'll go into the next one. EV and EV infrastructure. Who has an electric vehicle over here? Can I get thumbs up if you have an electric vehicle or maybe a hybrid vehicle? Anybody on the floor? Anything? No? I don't see any thumbs up. Okay, well, if you don't, this may be your chance to get in. There is incentives for zero emission vehicle infrastructure. So if you wanted to put charging stations in your company, or you are building the charging stations at someone else's company, there is a incentive for that, up to 50% of project costs, and max of about $5 million per project. There's also an incentive for medium and heavy duty zero emission vehicles, and it is a maximum of $1 million per year. It really depends on what kind of vehicle you are actually purchasing for the fleet of the company. So there is different categories, I guess, that you could end up in, and there is still an incentive for the hybrid ones, but obviously they are pushing for the heavy duty, medium and heavy duty zero emission vehicles. So those ones are going to be the ones that have the most amount of tax credits and incentives. The next one that I'm going to talk about is the accelerated investment incentive. So there is a tax write off for clean energy investments. So that is a great one as well. And then there's other tax credits that I like to mention all the time, which is carbon capture, utilization, and storage projects. You can get tax credits. There's also green hydrogen tax credits up to 40% of capital costs. There is a clean technology tax credits up to 30% of the capital cost. So all of those are other types of tax credits that are not really related to SR&ED itself. However, some of those could also be used in conjunction with SR&ED. And then there's a couple ones in digital. Oh wow, cannot speak. Sorry, digitalization and clean technology. So we have the digital technology supercluster, which is accelerating the development and adoption of digital technologies to keep Canadians healthy, address climate change, and to drive the economy productivity. The program is going to invest up to 43% of the total eligible approved project expenses, between 3 million and 5 million. There's about 60% to equipments for direct air capture and 50% for all of the other ones. This is a great grant to look into it as well. The next one we have is Scale AI Industry. It does have, you do have to have a partner. It is closed at the moment, but they are going to be opening new opportunities by April 1st, which is the flip of the budget for the government. So you guys got to keep your eyes open for that one. Right now it is closed, but it will be reopening. And again, you have to have a partner for that one to be able to apply. And then there's the next generation manufacturer, which is one of my favorites because I did work in the manufacturing industry for quite a few years. So that one is, they used to have the AI for manufacturing. It is closed at the moment, but it gave 35% of total eligible project costs, between 2 million and 8 million. They just got a bunch more funding. I think it was an additional 177 million, if I'm not wrong. So they're going to be opening new opportunities for grants on those ones. So just some quick facts. The NGen is what we call the next generation manufacturing, has invested 220 million in 165 projects, leveraging an additional 380 million from the industry. They involved 372 partners, and 90 of them were SMEs. And then the project also involved 252 academic and research partners. So universities, research institutions, and all of that. So this is an amazing one. It's literally one of my favorite ones. Let's see what we got next. There we go. Other incentives. So we do have the ACT, which is the Agricultural Clean Technology Program. That one has only one stream open at the moment, which is called the Research and Innovation Stream, R&I, and it is for pre-market innovation, including research, development, demonstration, and commercialization of activities. The priority areas include green energy and energy efficiency, precision agriculture, and bioeconomy solutions. Just one little thing about the next gen, my favorite one. If you are in the AI business, you may not be able to actually apply directly for the funding, but if you're able to work with manufacturing facilities and you're doing the implementation of AI, you're able to work with them as a partner, which is really amazing and definitely going to help with the growth of Canada. So this is great. The other incentives we have is various hiring grants throughout for youth, for um, creation of jobs. And then there's also the National Trade Corridors Fund, which is the NTCF. So the NTCF is actually to fund infrastructure projects for airports, ports, railways, transportation facilities. Again, you may not be the one receiving the grant, but if you do any of that type of work in the technology side, and you're able to come to your clients and say, hey, there is some grants over here that I feel you could apply for and pay for my job, that makes everybody happier for sure. And then the last one I'll talk about is Eureka. Eureka is actually supporting up to 75% of eligible costs to a maximum of $1 million. And it's basically a facilitator for innovation, providing a proven platform for international R&D. So if we have anybody here that is working with different countries, I think there is about 41 different members, including European Union and South Korea, Argentina, Canada, Brazil, which is where I'm from. So if you are wanting to look into the Eureka as well, that is a great grant that you can go for. Now I've talked a lot and I'm almost done, so we can go over to the questions. So if you have any questions from everything that I talked right now, please put it into the Q&A and we're going to try to answer as many as we can. I wanted to make sure that you guys understand that there is a lot that we need to be looking into when we're thinking of grants. The first one is plan. You got to plan. You need to have early plans. You need to be able to apply with your plan and receive the approval before you spend when you're talking about grants. So that is a big thing. Do not go around and start spending all your money and then ask for it to be paid back. So that is the biggest thing. Budget envelopes are also something that I like talking about. Budget is basically something that there is a limitation on how much money they're able to give. So you want to be able to take a look at that. And positioning, you need to be able to position your project in a good way so that you actually get your grant. So a lot of the times it's just changing a little bit on how you're showing your project and how you're talking about your project. So having a business plan is really essential. The second last one is stacking. So stacking, there is some cumulative financial funding that you can do, but there's also limitations. So some of them, they don't allow you to stack. Some of them, they do allow you to stack. So you need to be able to understand the background for that. And then the last one is partnerships. So obviously preferred by funding organizations. So partnerships with people like myself or with Red River College or University of Manitoba. Here in Manitoba, I know there's some of you that are not from Manitoba, but this is great. That needs to also be taken into account. So there's a lot of work to do when you're thinking of grants. Don't think you can just go look at a grant and say, yeah, I'm going to apply for this one. Oh, no, I'm going to apply for this one. You may not be able to. So just keep that in mind. And then consultant services, the work that I do is definitely identifying which tax credits, which grants, and which incentives are the most applicable to your growth plan. So delivering the funding roadmap is the thing that I like doing the most, is being able to show everyone what is that you are allowed or not allowed, but what is it that you're eligible to actually apply for, and how can you leverage all those grants to get the most amount of funding possible, and also linking the tax credits and the grants and business growth and all of that together. And we also lead the application process. We can define the gaps that you're looking for and trying to get the most probability of success. We work with those grants all the time. We have all the insights in it, and we know what they're looking for specifically, and we can help you doing those grant application, as well as the tax shred, which if you're in Manitoba, you would be dealing with me, and it would be great to see some of you there coming to me and actually asking for assistance. So this is pretty much it. I am going to leave with the next slide, which I do have a QR code. I would love for you guys to fill out. Let me know what you thought of the webinar itself, and maybe give me your email if you want more information about one of the grants. Can I get a little bit of heat from you guys now? Can I get some clapping or some thumbs up if you liked the presentation? I wish I could talk for a lot longer and give you more details on the grants. Thank you for all the love. I can see all the thumbs up and clapping, so that's amazing. Make sure you write down my name, my phone number. I'm also on LinkedIn if you would like to find me. And do connect on the QR code and leave me a review there. I would love for that. I talked so much. I am going to now look at the Q&A. I am hoping that I can answer all your questions. I also have a coworker that joined us today, and if I don't know how to answer, maybe she does, and if we don't, we're going to go back and figure it out, okay? So the first question is, how does a company like yours charge for your services? That's a great question, Herman. Thank you. So the way that we actually charge for the services is basically looking at what you're going to be applying for, right? So depending on the grant or the tax credit that you're applying for, we will have different ways of charging it. So there is different fee arrangements. It could be time and materials. It could be contingency, meaning if you don't get the tax credit, the shred, for example, which we have the most experience, myself and my group, is if you don't get it, then you do not have to pay me, basically is what it is. So the way that we work with a lot of our clients is making sure that they are eligible and making sure that we're not just wasting everybody's time in applying for things that don't make sense. But with a lot of the grants, we're not able to do that. The government does not allow us to. So we'll do either a fixed fee if it's a grant that we already know what the grant is and how much work there is involved, or we can do time and materials for our standard rates. So that was question number one answered. The next one is for shred. Is detailed task tracking required to claim labor costs? Tiffany, amazing question. Not exactly. So the idea behind it is that you're able to do an estimation of how much time you spent on a certain project for shred. So let's say you're the CEO of a company, and you have some people that are technical people below you that are doing some of the work themselves, but you did have some time coming up with ideas, or coming up with uncertainties, or coming up with what it is that you have to figure it out on a certain project. You're going to have to be able to estimate how much time of your entire year did you spend going through the specific eligible activities of shred. So figuring out technological uncertainties, participating in the systematic approach, hypotheses, and testing of it. And let's say, oh, I'm a CEO, but I did do most of the work. Like if you're, a 2-3 person shop and you're doing most of the work, well, maybe you're at 80%. The other 20%, you're pitching to get more money. Or maybe if you're not as hands-on, maybe you only claim 5% of your time. Obviously, the best way to do it is detailed task tracking. So every hour that you spend on shred activities, you would be tracking them down. But CRA does understand that some companies are just not able to do that yet, but they might get there one day when they become a large corporation. So that's the idea behind it. Hopefully that answers your question, Tiffany. I'll go to the next one. What happens if it's being solved or researched overseas? Oh, okay, great question, Herman. As I mentioned, if the work is being done outside of Canada, most likely it's not going to be eligible. Now, there's exceptions. If you have an employee that is working overseas, you can claim some of their hours. You cannot claim all of them, unfortunately, because it is up to only 10% of the time of them spending outside of Canada. Now, if part of the work is being done overseas, part of the work being done in Canada, let's say you hired a company to do the work overseas, but you yourself is here and you're analyzing whatever the results come out from their company, you cannot claim their costs specifically, but you can claim the time of yourself working in the project and going through the uncertainties and all of that. So that is the main idea. Work being done in Canada because obviously the government is trying to incentivize us Canadians, or actually I shouldn't even say us Canadians because I'm not Canadian yet. I am a personal permanent resident. But anyways, they are trying to incentivize work being done in Canada. Okay, next one. We've got in terms of research and development, where can we find interest areas for the government to help guide what one can venture into? Okay, so in terms of research and development, where can you find interest areas? All of the information of the grants and incentives are on the government's website. It is a lot to go through. So I would recommend going with a consultant that kind of knows what is out there and what you can go into. But all the information is on the government's website. A lot of the grants are done in a different way. So they'll have a link to maybe a separate website to tell you what the grant is about. But that's kind of what I would suggest. And also participating in webinars like this, right, and trying to get as much as you can out of that. So hopefully that answers your question. If not, pop in a new question because we're going through them in pretty quickly. So, are there any opportunities for a small startup tech company with no partners yet? Yes, there are opportunities. IRAP is probably going to be your best one if you are in software development, for example. So if you're coming up with something really cool and different that is not out there yet, IRAP might be one that you can apply for. SR&ED as well, if you're doing again, scientific research and experimental development. If you're doing a new novel technology or coming up with a new product, you would be able to apply for any of those. And then it really depends on what category you are on your startup, right? So if you do have obviously some ESG opportunities, or if you have focus in ESG, there's going to be lots of those out there as well. And as I mentioned, there's at any time there's 3,000 around 3,000 grants and incentives out there. So it's really hard to keep track of it. Even ourselves, like sometimes it's like, oh, we have a really cool program, but hang on, let me see if it's closed, because they do open and close programs all the time. So it is important to be able to work with somebody that can actually help you identify what you can apply or not. Sometimes I'll be only doing roadmaps. Like I will only be doing advice of saying which ones can you apply. You don't have to be able to work through the entire project with us. You can just literally use a consultant to identify the different grants. Okay, the next one. Are these incentives go to the company or to the people who are running the company? If for the people, are people with work permit eligible for these? Okay, that's a great question, and I think it may vary also depending on what it is that you're applying for. If you are an employee, for example, for SR&ED, if you're an employee of a company, the company itself is going to be getting that credit for their benefit, I guess. So maybe that answers your question. The amount of money does not go to the the employee itself. It goes to the employer. So if you work for company X and you have a work permit and you are their employee, you're able to provide tax credit for company X. So company X will get a tax credit for the work that you did. Hopefully I wasn't too confusing on that. Next one, if we want to get the advice of Deloitte, what is the process? Well, the process to get any advices for grants and incentives is to contact one of us first. So obviously myself, as you guys just met me, you can send me an email or give me a call. And what we do is first we have an introductory a call where we're just kind of figuring out what you're doing, if there is even any chances of us finding any opportunities for you. And once we do figure that out, then we can actually propose certain fees that we can charge you for either doing a roadmap, or if we know of a grant right away that is about to close, we're like, okay, no, we have a grant. This is it. You have to apply for it tomorrow. We got to start tomorrow. Then obviously we engage with you to help you with a certain grant at that point. We don't charge anything until there is actually a contract signed. So that's kind of how the process works. If you have still questions on the process, go ahead. We still got a couple more questions that we can answer here. Kelly, you watch my time here. I think we got 8 more minutes. Is it permissible for me to submit my employees' hours under SR&ED if they are employed in a full-time position elsewhere as well? Yes, you can. As long as they are your employee, you can claim their hours. If they have their own company and you contract them out, so they are basically your contractor, you can still claim their hours, but they're going to be under the category of contractors, which you do get a bit of a grind. You can only claim 80%. So ideally, you want to have everybody on your payroll and being able to claim a little bit more for their hours. And I think the government usually does that just because they want to promote more jobs in Canada. They want to make sure there is more jobs. So that's kind of the idea behind it. The last question I have here is it advisable to seek specific funding and grant info from the corresponding sector councils? I'm not sure I understand your question. Like you're saying the different funding sectors. I would say I don't see why not. But maybe if you wanted to change your question a little bit, let me know. Can I sack my tax with SR&ED? That's a great question. I'm not sure. Chi, do you know the answer to that? I'm not really familiar with my tax. So if you do know the answer, you can put your microphone. There you go, Chi.
Hey. So I think for my tax, it is a mostly for research and postdocs and students, that kind of thing. And I see another question in terms of stacking. Stacking is when you apply for both or more than one program. I think it will have to depend on the case and the project. You would have to look at the types of expenditures that's claimed and the person that's involved. So I don't think that would be a straightforward answer.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Chi. I appreciate your help here. So she works with me here in our grants and incentives programs here at Deloitte. So you guys heard a little bit about that. We can definitely look into the MyTax. I cannot see who is asking the question. So if you want to reach out to me directly, I can definitely look into that question for you. I see you were asking about IRAP and MyTax as well. I would say it's going to be the same situation. That it really depends on the project that you have. Are you aware of any specific arts grants that apply to technology? Not that I know by heart. Chi, do you know any?
So I think by art grants, this individual is referring to art specific grants for art organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So there are these type of art and entertainment type of programs out there, that's for sure. And of course, it all depend on the project itself. We've seen that, art companies are also trying to, depending on the industry, if you're in entertainment, there are software technology that you could use for production of music or movies. That is Canada do have these type of programs. So I guess we'll just have to know the specifics of the project.
That sounds great. Again, anonymous. If you would like to reach out to us, we can definitely look into it. I'm going to do the last question now. It is 12:55. In cases where applications are not successful, what could have happened? Oh, geez, there's so many things that could have happened. It could be that Number one, you didn't position it properly, which means that the person who is reading your application does not understand what your project is or does not understand what you're doing. So that is the main issue is positioning, making sure that your project is explained correctly. The other thing that it could be is that you're trying to claim things that, or not claim, but you're trying to apply for costs that are not eligible. So you're trying to apply for a grant where they cover labor costs and you're putting capital equipment. Well, you're not going to get approved for that. It could also be that that they don't have budget anymore. They don't have budget left. So that's why I say there's a lot of things that you need to plan behind it, behind the scenes, because they do have a certain amount of funding. They are limited. So each program is going to have a certain amount of funding. The For SR&ED, it's pretty easy to deal with because if there's something that went wrong and you get rejected, you don't just get rejected. You get actually a review. So basically, you go through a review with CRA, with the Canada Revenue Agency, and you get a chance to explain what your project was and why you claimed what you claimed, if they have any doubts. So that is the best case scenario, I guess. And I've gone through lots of them. They are a bit lengthy, especially if you have a large project or a lot of expenditure. So it does take a little bit of time, but knowing what you're talking or knowing what you're saying and knowing how you got the costs that you did into your claim is the most important thing. I think this is all the questions I can take. I hope this was very helpful for everyone. I just wanted to mention, Jennifer is on here as well. Jennifer Espinosa, she's with Easily. If you guys want to reach out to her, she also helps lots of my clients with getting some money for SR&ED, for example. If you're applying for SR&ED at the end of the year, but you want the money now and you don't want to apply for a grant again because you can't or you're not eligible, well, Jennifer can hook you up with a little bit of a advance on that funding. So there it is, her contact over there. I hope that you guys had a great day and a great presentation. And thank you so much, Kelly, for having me today. I had lots of fun. I see lots of clapping. So I hope that everybody enjoyed it.
I would say so. I mean, speaking for myself, thank you so much, Jackie. Thank you, Chi. What a dizzying number of options. And so you made sense of them, you bundled them. My takeaway is there is abundance that is available regardless of what type of business project you're bringing to life, commercializing. When you mentioned IRAP, it made me think about, we have an IRAP focused program at Tech Manitoba called the Virtual Trade Accelerator. We have a program manager who, if you're an IRAP client, and you need some assistance in helping you get ready for a trade show or raising financing, we have a program for you that's free. And again, it coaches you through all the steps to make sure that you're successful with your growth outcomes. So thank you so much again, Jackie, for your insight, your time. And please, anyone here, connect with Jackie, connect with Chi, connect with Jennifer, connect with Camilla. There are so many great resources that we have in Manitoba to help you thrive. And I just want to give a round of applause yet again for Jackie for taking time and answering all those really great questions. I have just a couple of quick mentions of upcoming events. Our next one is on March 27th. This is a brand new event for us. We've titled it Plugged In. It's going to be at Across the Board Games Cafe. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend it. But this is an event that is really meant for networking and community building for early tech professionals. So it's a way for them to come together, learn more about the local resources that we have available to them to grow their career. We're going to have folks from Lambert Nemec who are coming to speak, look at some resumes, just help people to connect in person who may not have that much experience. They might be new to Canada. They might be international students studying a tech program, and they're looking for a really accessible way to meet others, have some fun, and who doesn't love board games? So again, that's March 27th from 4 to 8 p.m. There's information on our site. And then our next tech mashup is on Tuesday, April the 11th. It's titled Creating Repeatable, Predictable Growth. It's going to be with Ryan Ramsdale from Envision Edge. He's the Director of Operations and a coach, and he'll walk us all through their blueprint, a carefully constructed roadmap that takes your organization from strategy preparation through to creating a culture of innovation. So once again, that's April 11th with Envision Edge. I highly recommend If your organization is looking on how to learn how to do innovation, they have a repeatable and consistent methodology. I highly recommend it. So that concludes the formalities for today. Thank you so much for attending. I know we don't have much time for networking, but if you want to hang around for a few minutes and finish up some conversations with those that you may have started before Jackie was able to get on, please do so. And again, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.